Hi again, GIS class. So I'm talking about the vector assignment number 1, or the vector assignment that we're going to do. And so for part 2 of that, you're going to use some layers from a geodatabase. It's the same geodatabase that we were working with a couple of times in class. It's that Black Hills geodatabase. So again, I have it on world class. You can unzip it and extract it. You can't use the old one that we used. So the original one we used was a personal geodatabase, which is one of the options in ArcMap. You can save a bunch of layers in a personal geodatabase, and the file extension on that is .mdb. As far as I know, QGIS can't run or can't read .mdb files, or at least I couldn't figure out how to do it. But it can read .gdb, and that's a file geodatabase. So when you save things in ArcMap, if you want to read them in QGIS, you've got to save them as a .gdb or some other format that QGIS can read. Now, there's a lot of advantages of using geodatabases over using shapefiles, and that's a big topic for another time. I can point you to a really nice video. So as I've been exploring QGIS, this guy has been really helpful. This is Carlson, who does a lot of videos. You can see his YouTube channel here, a lot of videos on QGIS. You can see here GeoPackage is a type of geodatabase that QGIS uses, and there's a nice video here explaining a lot of the advantages of that and why that's better than using just a bunch of shapefiles. We talked a little bit in class about why geodatabases are better than using a bunch of shapefiles, but if you're curious. He also has a lot of really great intro videos on QGIS and a lot of functionality that it has, so I recommend his channel. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So in here, again, I've got my GIS folder. So this browser window I find is really handy for navigating your data. So vector assignment. And so what I have here, so the old Black Hills stuff, this is the old folder, the original one that you already have a copy of, and has some shapefiles and things. And this Sturgis thing, it can't read it. It's got some, it can't read some of these MDB stuff. So what I did is I went back to ArcMap. And I took those layers out of the MDB and put them in a GDB, right? A geodatabase, a file geodatabase. So I have them here. So this blackhills.gdb is what you can download now from the website. And you can pull in all these layers. Now, Geodatabase is a Esri, so Esri, the company that makes ArcMap, it's a proprietary file format, right? So QGIS can read it. It can read GDB layers, but it can't edit them, and you can't save as .gdb. So what I would recommend is let's pull in a layer here. So geology, so we can pull that in, we can read it. It's in UTM, my zone 13 already, I believe. And so we notice here, my map canvas is now in NAD 83, UTM zone 13. Okay, so here's my a geology layer from there. So what we can do is we can save it as, you should basically save your output in a geo package. That's a kind of geodatabase that QGIS can use. Number one, this symbology is bothering me, so I'm going to change that to categorized based on name, random colors. That's fine. Okay. All right, that looks more like a geologic map. Now let's say I want to do some geoprocessing and I want to put my output into a geodatabase, a GeoPackage geodatabase. You've done this if you've done the tutorials in the QGIS training manual, but I'll go over it again just really quickly. Let's say I want to make a buffer around this upper Paleozoic type of rock, right? So let's do that. First, let's just isolate our upper Paleozoic. So click on the geology layer and filter. This is like doing an attribute query, right? So I'm going to say name equals, and then I can get all my values here, right? Upper Paleozoic, and click OK. And so now I've filtered, I've basically done an attribute query. And now let's say I want to do a buffer around that. So I'll go over here. This is my processing toolbox, really handy, just like the ARC toolbox in ArcMap. Let's see, vector geometry. Yes, vector geometry buffer. So I'll pull that up. And so I want to buffer my geology layer. It's already been filtered, so I can see I've just got Upper Paleozoic. Let's say I want to do a, I don't know, 500 meter buffer around it. I want to dissolve the result to make it look nice. And then remember from the tutorial, when you do a geoprocessing task, it creates a temporary layer that's not saved. So if you create the temporary layer and you don't make it permanent and then you close out of QGIS, it's gone. So I like to just save it in a geo package. So let's say save to geo package. So I'll create a new one. Yeah, I'll just call it geology, right? Okay, geology geo package. And then my output name, I'm going to say, you know, upper, I'll just say upper Paleozoic buffer 500 meters, right? Click OK. Okay, so that's where it's going to save it. Then I think I can just run it. There we go. And close that. And so there's my new buffer layer, and it's saved as in a geo package, right? I can drag it down here, and we can see the buffer around that. So that's what you'll need to do for most of part 2. You'll pull in your input layers from the GDB, but then when you create new layers, you should just create them and put them in a geo package. Remember, in some of the assignments we did, we showed that it's really useful to have, you know, a geodatabase of your input layers and then create a geodatabase for your output. So you can create a geo package where you'll put all of your sort of results layers. So any project you're working on, that's a pretty good idea. So I think that's all for now. I have office hours virtually on Zoom. Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the mornings, 9 to 11. So just drop in. The link is on World Class. Otherwise, if you have questions, you can email me. You can email me to set up a Zoom appointment or anything else you need. Work through that assignment, and remember, it's going to be due next Friday.